think the first project that the first CD I got was out of a bargain bin basically in Christchurch, which was sort of Gilgan's Death Mask. And from what we know now, there's literally a bazillion power electronics bands, and it goes right back. But back then, this was this one CD, you know,
right?
And it was and yeah, he had I sent him over a cassette of it, and that was pretty much all we had, and SPK and Throbbing Gristle, and it was only on video.
So in a lot of ways, you were actually getting your influences from the very earlier industrial.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Because there is a bit of a scene in New Zealand.
There is a great scene in New Zealand, and they're very fanatical, and I think it's actually the same, very similar to Queensland, except the thing about New Zealand is because there isn't as much media over there, and they're not as connected to the world. You find people over there very into their music over there. There's just not as much distraction. So people are really quite fanatical. The difference I've found between Australia and New Zealand is a lot of New Zealand people have a lot of New Zealand bands in their music collection, as opposed to a lot of Australians who've got this cultural cringe sort of, you know, this thing where they think, well, it's because it's local shit.
Yes. We have to sit there and have steps to cultivate.
So there's a bit of a difference though between Queensland and North Queensland as well, because in Queensland and Brisbane you can play, and there is people like you, but where we're from you basically get bashed for having long hair almost half the time, you know.
It's definitely a fight starter. But
yeah, it's a bit of we weren't in the most cultural hub. Well, it wasn't. If you went into Townsville now, it has changed, but
it has. But
it's just fucking boring.
Once every 5 months if you're lucky.
Yeah, and the gigs was just a shit house. Yeah. Well, it was sitting around in like dark dungeon like lounge rooms in North Queensland, hiding from the 40 fucking degree heat, smoking bucket bongs basically.
All the fucking footy players and shit.
Yeah, smoking buckets and just sitting there, literally blasting ourselves with the next thing, because we were late to Napalm Death and stuff like that, and then Exit 13 and sort of all this grindcore stuff and Pedigo and stuff like that.
Sounds like a perfectly healthy growing up to me.
Well, Casey was shaving upside down crosses in his head and stuff without even doing it as a fashion. You know? Well, okay, I shaved the upside down cross in his head, but Casey was doing stuff.
There was a lot of blood involved.
There was a lot of blood. We used to use an entire pack of big razors.
Hope you got photos.
We actually once shaved a bald spot right there. We actually gave him the monk cut. Yeah, we used to do this for fun. It wasn't actually. There was nothing about it. There was nothing like. There's no danger fields in North Queensland. There's nothing about it. It was just us being fuckheads, basically. We couldn't not be that.
You go down all right with that crowd?
Maybe I don't care. No, there is an aesthetic. We know what we don't like. It's almost like the concept would be almost by removal. And
a lot of our previous, when we were first starting, like playing library in Melbourne, I guess basically because how wasted I was definitely not necessarily unhappy, but just my state of mind. It wasn't very good back then.
No, Case was going through a lot of drug psychosis sort of thing, so he's a lot more lucid these days. But back then it was sort of like the thing about Case. Even it was like getting a pit bull and shaking it up and just letting it loose on the audience with a barrage of extreme violent, you know, and yeah, that was pretty much the only concept there ever really was, wasn't there? Also, I think one thing about us, and it's not already blowing my own horn or anything, but if you want, maybe this would be the concept, is that with a lot of noise bands that I've seen, like in London as well and stuff, I think one thing is we do actually give up the goods. You know, if you're going out to see a noise band and you want to be, a lot of people, I think when they see an extreme power electronics band, they sort of want to be pummeled a bit. And a lot of bands don't do that, and they sort of take them on a bit of a journey and stuff, whereas we're pretty much up front and we just sort of give the goods and stuff, and sort of things with audiences, I don't know. It's interesting when we play, because you see, when we start, there's like this crossing of the audience. You get these people at the back that run forward, and I think it's to see what the fuck it is that's doing that, and then all these people at the front will just sort of be going like that. And I've seen that from the stage quite a few times, which is always good. It's worth it just for doing that. We just fucking piss venues off. We blow their PAs up and no one buys any booze because everyone's on the dole. And it's like they don't know what they're hiring. I've found that has been a bad concept. They don't know what.
Which is strange because
It's fun for us.
Yeah, I do have quite an extensive list of lyrics, but
He used to write them on his arm.
yeah, that was cool.
We did this one gig where he was actually had his lyrics on his phone. So he was kneeling down. It looked like he was writing a text mid gig, and I just remember looking at, what is he doing? He's like,
for the modern vocalist. What are your lyrics then? What are they about?
Dissatisfaction with basically everything here. But
Yep.
there is like that. I don't know.
More personal sort of?
messy, and then at certain stages, for Whitehouse, the point sometimes just start scrolling like.
He's got some good stuff. If you looked at his lyrics, you couldn't put them on any other kind of music.
Really?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. It's pretty. There is an extremity to them. Like some of his lyrics are just singular words that he will shout and just ram down your throat over and over and over again.
Often I don't remember a lot of our gigs, but yeah, I definitely get to it. Definitely, I like just a barraging wall of noise, and I can feel that, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So I'm usually relatively wasted though, but that just I guess emphasised.
It does get quite worn out, and that's a major point that because we don't do songs, we just do normally a 15-minute set. And,
Oh, okay.
Sure.
And 10 to 15 minutes, and we've got to space it so that because I've seen him here plenty of times where he's literally laying on the floor after 10 minutes of continual. He's pretty much vomited every single time we've been here. Pretty much every single
Never at a
time.
gig, unfortunately.
Never at a gig. I don't think that we actually. I don't think
I'm
we
not
need.
outputting hate when I'm doing it. There is possibly.
It's not like we're actually aiming at that. I think because there is that, we can get away with what we do in it.
I guess it's the ferocity of the actual frequency shit we're using as well. Like it's just.
If you make noise, and it's like if you actually if you tried this and did it, you would sort of get it. I think partly by what I'm saying is basically partly by doing it, you sort of understand it. It's about, and especially like I've sung in these bands before, like Ebola and stuff, and there is a certain, they don't really get anything more extreme than that, but at the same time, it's the most base aggression level.
Yep. I
And
understand.
it's not just about aggression, but it doesn't have to be aimed at anything really.
More about energy than.
Yeah, it's just fucking raw, basically. It wouldn't even be it's almost like miking up a fight. You know, if you've ever been in fights, unfortunately we have from our youth and stuff. It's like that. It's more closer to a fight than anything musical.
Yep.
And it's
an analogy.
Yeah, I might write that down.
Confrontation with the audience then? Is that something?
No, not interested. No. We're not doing slogan or anything like that. It's not about, like, look, I think people tend to be a little bit wary of Case when he's doing it, and they sort of, I notice they move back and stuff, and when he walks their way, they'll walk this way.
I've never done that.
But he won't attack us.
He's nice.
Yeah, he's nice, right?
Nice
He's a
Casey.
lovely guy. Even in practicing, if we just fall onto something that's not what we're about. You know, I wouldn't play a lot of gigs that would be called experimental because there is that, and I think that was one of the first things that put me off playing. I'm not knocking the scene, okay? I completely more power to you guys and what they're doing and stuff, but there's almost like this Wire magazine sort of listening scene that they've existed for as long as we have, but we're not from that, and I would not at all call us experimental. We know what we're doing. We're not experimenting. We fucking know, and we. I think I've got no interest personally in that stuff. I've tried to, it's just, it seems like a lot of people putting stuff through effects pedals, and it's just not what we do. And I actually do stuff like that in other projects. I've worked in other projects where I do, I guess, more along that line of thing, but not what we do. And I wouldn't want to actually put us in that scene.